Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy once again. Been a minute. Um, gonna do predictions for SummerSlam this weekend. I've watched Raw and haven't watched too much of SmackDown, but I've kept up with all the storylines and things that are going into this pay per view. Gotta say, a couple of things. I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised that we get in SummerSlam. It feels kind of early. Maybe it's just me. I haven't paid much attention, but SummerSlam has always been like in the third to fourth week of August. We're getting it in the first week of August, and it just really seems like we're getting SummerSlam early this year. And quite frankly, it doesn't feel like SummerSlam. Uh, the bill for this pay per view, I will say, has been lackluster. Now, this could end up being, like what's what I'm looking for, like Extreme Rules, where Extreme Rules, the build for that pay per view was kind of lackluster, but going into it, it was a pretty good show. A lot of people liked it, minus maybe like the ending or whatever. But a lot of people thought that Extreme Rules, despite its lack of build or interest, that the pay per view delivered. It was a good show. So I'm kind of hoping for that same result here for SummerSlam because, like I said, the build kind of sucks for it this year, and some of the matches don't really grab me. There are a couple that I am interested in. Like I said, I'll get into as I talk about them, but not really. Nothing really grabs me. Another interesting thing about this, there's no pre-show. Um, there might be, I don't know, but they have not. I've watched SmackDown, I've watched Raws. They have not announced any like matches for pre-shows. There's 10 matches on the card. I don't know if those 10 matches are going to stretch out over a course of what, 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever the case may be. Um, yeah, so no pre-shows. None of the tag team titles are on the line from either SmackDown or Raw. Well, yeah, from either SmackDown or Raw. So it's interesting. Going into this pay per view, this coming Sunday, but we'll just talk about it right now. So first match we have here is Drew Gulak versus Oney Larkin. Drew Gulak is defending the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. I'm going to tell you right now, Drew Gulak, I think, is probably one of the best Cruiserweight champions right now since, uh, oh, God. Oh, God. I forgot the former Cruiserweight champion name. Not Tony Nese, the one before him. The world's best kept secret. Um, oh God, fuck! It makes me so angry because he's really good. The former cruiserweight champion that was before Tony Nese, I forgot, but he was Alexa Bliss's ex-boyfriend. Gulak is a pretty good champion so far. Mitchell, what he's been doing. I think Drew Gulak is going to win that, retain. Next, we'd have Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair. Trish Stratus just announced a couple days ago, or Monday actually, rather, that after this Sunday, she is retiring from professional wrestling. Kind of seems out of the blue and just kind of like out of nowhere that she's announcing this. Um, for me, it was just kind of like, okay. But definitely, this is a big match. For Charlotte, it's going to definitely a passing of the torch. The biggest female wrestler of the previous decade or generation versus the top female performer of the current era, the current generation in WWE. So definitely Charlotte Flair is going to win this. This doesn't feel like a SummerSlam match to me. Again, like even the build for this, which is something that freaking Trish Stratus versus Charlotte, the best in the past versus the best of the current era in WWE. This feels like something that should be for WrestleMania, but it's for SummerSlam, which again, not a bad place to have it, but again, the SummerSlam just doesn't feel special. But anyway, it is what it is. I think Charlotte's going to get it. Next, we have here Bill Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler. This was something that Dave Meltzer has been reporting on for the last 2 weeks because Dolph Ziggler had been calling out Goldberg in his promos, on purpose, intentionally, for the last 2 weeks. So there kind of been some buzz that maybe WWE will bring in Goldberg to face Ziggler, so that Goldberg could right the wrongs, that terrible match he had at the Super Showdown show. Undertaker got his grievances, or was able to wash off the stint from that match when he came back for Extreme Rules in the tag team match with Roman Reigns. So now it's Goldberg's turn with Dolph Ziggler. I think Goldberg's going to go over on this one. It's going to be a quick squash. If anybody who's going to make Goldberg look like $1 million is going to be Dolph Ziggler. I still say to this day, regardless of his stop and go pushes or whatever, to me, Ziggler's still the guy that gives the best bumps in the business. And he's like 39 or 40 years old now, but he still gives the best bumps in the business to me. And he sells well. He's one of the best sellers to me still in wrestling today. So Goldberg, I say, gets this. I never have a problem saying Goldberg. He's one of my favorites. Next, we have AJ Styles versus Ricochet for the United States Championship. This feud has been pretty well. It's been going on pretty well. I can't knock it. I've enjoyed it. Some of the things they've been doing. I definitely think this is going to be one of the best matches of the night. I see AJ retaining. I don't see Ricochet regaining the United States Championship, because at this point, like, why? The belt's like flip flopped between both men. So I see AJ retaining and moving forward. Next match here we have Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. This is Bray Wyatt's first match after a year and a half since he had been gone due to injury and just reinventing himself. It would have been interesting if they did Finn Balor versus the Demon. The Demon Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt's new gimmick, the Fiend. But I kind of get why they probably won't do it. Finn Balor has been said is to ask for some time off after SummerSlam to rest up his body because he kind of feels burned out and banged up. So I think this will be a good story to tell, where Bray Wyatt in his new gimmick, the Fiend, he defeats Finn Balor. Finn Balor's gone for 2 months or however long. 2 or 3 months later this year, or maybe going to the Royal Rumble or whatever, you can revisit this. This could even be a match at WrestleMania. Actually, they could even build when Finn Balor comes back. He comes back and he brings the Demon, and we have the Demon Finn Balor versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt. And even then, I probably have the Fiend Bray Wyatt get over the Demon, giving the Demon his first loss. But that could be a good story that they could come back and revisit, like at WrestleMania. But during WWE, they'll probably blow their load and give that away on like a B pay-per-view or C pay-per-view in like December or something. So I think Bray Wyatt's going to get this. Bray Wyatt is he's coming back refreshed with the new character, new gimmick. It's catching on. It has been catching on. He needs this win. He needs to rack up wins. This is Bray Wyatt's last chance. For me as a Bray Wyatt fan, nothing against him, but this is just my last chance because I'm tired of WWE kind of like fucking around with him. This is, and I think a lot of people are at this point, this is their last shot with Bray Wyatt. So he's got to get some meaningful wins. This guy should go on an undefeated streak for like a whole year, for all I care. Put him on the undefeated streak. Have him win some big matches, meaningful matches, and give this guy some gold. Give him some gold and, get him up to the main event status. Keep him there. And let's have fun. Next match we have Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. If Kevin Owens loses, he will quit WWE. Really not interested in this feud. I'm enjoying Kevin Owens as a babyface because this was the role that Kevin Owens was supposed to have when he first came back, but they ended up turning him heel because the whole Kofi Kingston push and all that other stuff. So they've returned back to what they had originally planned for Owens when he first came back early this year, being a babyface run. I'm enjoying his babyface run. Not the biggest fan of this feud with Shane, because to me, the way I see it, it's the same feud we had last year, but the roles are reversed. I mean, literally same thing. So not really interested in this. I'm going to go with Kevin Owens winning. Next, we have Bayley versus Ember Moon for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bassie Bayley getting this. Don't know what to say about that. Becky Lynch versus Natalya. Raw Women's Championship on the line. Becky's getting this as well. If Becky loses to Natalya, man, I don't know. Becky has been one of the hottest stars on the roster in WWE. 2019 is her breakout year. So for her to lose, of all people, no offense, but of all people to Natalya, no. I don't even, in my opinion, I think she could have found someone even a more worthy opponent for Becky Lynch at this stage of SummerSlam, but it is what it is. But I think I see Becky retaining. Here we have Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton, WWE Championship on the line. Interesting enough, a lot of fans want Randy Orton to win this. A lot of fans have kind of turned on Kingston, and it's just it just goes back to wrestling fans. Once again, to me, I say that they are just wrestling fans are fickle as fuck. Have I enjoyed Kofi Kingston's run as WWE champion? It's been a good run. I will give WWE credit. I will give them credit for pulling the trigger and putting a world title that has so much history like the WWE Championship on a black wrestler like Kingston, but also them sticking with Kingston. Kingston has not been a transitional champion. He's beaten Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles a couple times. Recently, actually, rather. He's been winning a lot of big matches. He's been winning a lot of big matches. They've booked him like a strong champion. So I can't complain and he's been champion for a while. I mean, over 100 days. I think like 112, 120 days or something like that. So since WrestleMania, he's been holding it down. My only complaint with Kingston in his championship run, or criticism, I should say, is the whole pancake thing. Because to me, I feel like, you're the world champion now. You should kind of, wear a different coat of paint. You're at another level. And in his mindset, and he's kind of spoke about this when Jim Ross kind of gives some constructive criticism, which I had agreed about Jim Ross. But, his kind of thing was like, hey, people's opinions it is what it is. Like it's because of this gimmick or basically who I am. It brought me to where I am. And I'm not going to change for who I am now that I'm here. I mean, like I kind of get it. The New Day gimmick is still got some life in it. It's not as at its peak like it was to me, like 2 or 3 years ago, but it's still got some life in it. Still got some legs, but in my opinion, I think they kind of need to switch it up a little bit. I think all 3 of the New Day members I mentioned before, leading up to the build of Kingston's run, do like a black excellence thing. Turn all 3 dudes heel and make it like a black excellence heel type of like faction where it's like it's us versus the world type of like thing. I think that'd be awesome. Just be a little bit more serious, get rid of the Lucky Charms and just, and now it's just, especially New Day are tag team champions as well. So they have all of the SmackDown gold minus the IC title. So, that's my only complaint, or not complaint, but constructive criticism to Kingston. But a lot of people have been wanting this guy to drop his title. It's like, you're the same people that were cheering for him. And now that he's got the belt, it's like, okay, well, he's had his run now for like a month. So let's take it off and let's put it on someone else. And it's like, fans are fickle as fuck. That's why wrestling fans probably annoy me just as much as the, stupid things that WWE does. But anyway, Kingston versus Orton. This is a feud that definitely has some history to it. Go back on, Jesus, 10 years ago when Kingston was on the rise against Orton, and a lot of people were getting behind Kingston. And, there were some things that were said during that time, like politics or whatever, kind of got in the way of Orton being Orton, that hindered, the push of Kingston getting to that next level. So there's a lot of, tension there. I think Kingston's going to win this. I know a lot of people say Orton should win it, or a lot of people wish Orton win it. There are some people within the wrestling journalism world that think that Orton should win it because them going into Fox in the fall, Orton is a much bigger star, recognizable star. I don't think so. I think Kingston should retain. If Kingston loses the belt, he should lose it maybe at the next pay-per-view. But at SummerSlam against Orton, I think Kingston should win. Because if I remember correctly, Kingston never beat Randy Orton 10 years ago when they had that match. Randy Orton won that. So I think, Randy could do the favor for Kingston. And out of all the title victories that, Kingston has been having since winning the championship, Orton would be the final exclamation point to his entire title run, at least his first title run, because I don't know if he'll be champion again, but you know, Orton would be that the biggest challenge for Kingston to overcome in his first championship run since being champion. So I think Kingston should win this. Now being on to the main event, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. This is another situation kind of similar to Kingston, where a lot of fans have turned on Seth Rollins, or have started to turn on Seth Rollins, and they're not feeling him. And this is due to multiple factors. One, I think some of the heat that Rollins has gotten is due to Rollins himself. A lot of his outspoken word, a lot of him being very outspoken and kind of, I guess you could say maybe overconfidence, and him kind of starting beef with other wrestlers from other, companies and whatnot, kind of showed the Rollins is kind of being a dickhead in real life, or kind of comes across as being a dick and just not likable. So part of it's Rollins' fault. He kind of, like I say, he kind of comes across as a dick in real life and not very likable. So there's that. I also think the booking of WWE has not helped him at all since being champion. Rollins was fine when he was Universal Champion after WrestleMania. It wasn't until they constantly had him around Baron Corbin his entire run, and then they latched him on to Becky Lynch, which was just kind of like out of nowhere, that people are like, hold on, like, wait a minute, like, what are you guys doing? So that didn't help Rollins either. So there's that. And then the third option, obviously, wrestling fans are just fickle. So I think the mixture of those three ingredients has really worked against Seth Rollins rather than it's helped Seth Rollins. So Brock Lesnar, Universal Champion. How can this go? I'm kind of 50-50 on this. There was some reports that I think WWE's next pay-per-view is Hell in a Cell, I think. And it was already kind of like advertised that Drew McIntyre would be facing Seth Rollins for the World Championship. Obviously, plans change. Things are always subject to change. But the idea is that since that at the next pay-per-view event, that match was kind of advertised, that maybe Rollins would win the belt back at SummerSlam, or Brock could end up retaining. Now, if Brock retains, Brock's not dropping the strap to WrestleMania. Like, you can put it in the oven, call it a day, and like wipe your hands with it. If Brock retains, he's carrying it into WrestleMania again. If Seth gets it back, I think Seth will turn heel. Here's why I say that. So the biggest thing coming out of Raw this past Monday, besides Goldberg, coming back, was the, I guess you could say, awful promo and the silent reaction that a lot of people in the Raw attendance gave Seth Rollins after he received his second beatdown from Brock Lesnar. Rollins in his promo said that, hey, I sometimes wonder if it's all worth it, but actually I think it is. I will do whatever. I will beat Brock Lesnar this coming Sunday at SummerSlam, and I'll do whatever it takes, or something like that, along those lines. That has me to kind of think, would Seth go to the ultimate extreme? Would Seth kind of go to the dark side, kind of go turn heel, and getting the Universal Championship? Because if you going back to WrestleMania earlier this year, he kicked Brock Lesnar in the balls before the bell rang. Then when the referee didn't pay attention, gave him the low blow. That was the upper edge that Rollins used to his advantage to win the Universal title. So my thought process is, listening to this promo that Rollins cut this past Monday and going into the pay-per-view on Sunday, he might do just a little bit more than a low blow, give a low blow to Brock Lesnar. He might, I don't know, do something else, underhanded, dirty, win the strap, in a controversial matter, and turn heel, and we pick up where he left off in his Universal Championship run. Where would that leave Brock Lesnar? I don't know, but that's kind of my thought process. That's kind of my thought process going into it. So yeah, that's what I think. Or like I said again, Brock could retain because again, Raw is now under the creative leadership of Paul Heyman to a degree, and Paul Heyman, is a Brock Lesnar guy, and he probably wants to build Brock Lesnar up really, really strong. So Brock could end up, like I said, retaining and going to WrestleMania as champion. So yeah, this is my predictions for SummerSlam this Sunday. You guys let me know what you think. What are your thoughts going into the pay-per-view? What are matches you were looking forward to the most? Like I said, on paper, there's some pretty decent stuff. All in all, I'm just not really feeling it in SummerSlam. I mean, this SummerSlam kind of feels like a B pay-per-view. The hype. Like I said, I hope it delivers despite its lack of build. Excuse me. I hope it delivers, but you guys let me know what you think in the box below. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button, and subscribe. Peace.